Okay, so last week we talked about two things, and the two things that we talked about in a variety of pieces. We talked about the impact of calories as well as exercise. And I just want to clarify with calories that again, our body consumes. We have to expend that energy. And ultimately, a calorie is a calorie. That being said, we want to clarify a piece that certainly it is healthier if you had, say, 100 calories that came from lettuce versus 100 calories that came from, fried potato chips or donuts or something to that effect, just in terms of the sugars and so forth, or fat that may be in it, et cetera. Not that you can't have donuts or anything of that nature, but just keeping that in perspective. But again, calories are important, something to look at. So today I am going to pick up and we'll talk of scripture to get us going. And then I would like to cover two areas. The two areas we'll talk about is BMI and health impacts, and then servings as related. So first in the book of 1 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 8, reading from the Good News Translation, it says that physical exercise has some value. That's 1 Timothy 4 and verse 8. I chose it from there because the King James says that bodily exercise profiteth little. So there is some profit to it. There is some benefit to be gained. Because there are some people who say, well, look, it says that physical exercise doesn't profit. But it doesn't say that. It says it profited little in the big picture of things. Why? But spiritual exercise is valuable in every way, because it promises life both for the present and for the future. And so I like the way that says that yes, physical exercise has some value, but spiritual exercise is valuable in every way. And so last week we talked about physical exercise, the importance of it, and again to emphasize, just as we need the physical exercise, in a greater extent we need spiritual exercise. Okay, the physical body will wear away, but the spiritual man needs to be renewed day by day. And that spiritual man is renewed certainly by reading of the Word of God, by assimilating His Word, by praying, by Bible study, by sharing of your testimony and sharing of your faith, that it builds one up spiritually. So spiritual sinew, spiritual muscle is vitally important. You don't want to be in a sense, we don't want to be physically strong, but then spiritually weak. So it would rather, if we have to do one of the two, it would be better to be spiritually strong and physically weak than to be physically strong and spiritually weak. But in an optimal world, we'll take both of them. We have our physical strength, and then we'll also possess physical strength. And so we certainly want to be able to have both of those together, but keeping them in perspective that, again, spiritual exercise exceeds physical exercise. I realize I'm not connected to, so I was about to go and share. So let me just grab a program to know where I need to sign into. So, and I'll be right there. I was about to try to share, and I realized, okay, there'd be nothing to share. From last week, we talked about exercise. So I'm curious, did anyone get a chance to do any exercise? Yes, okay, we had some people who did some exercise. Anyone else get an opportunity to do any exercise last week? To get out to do something, to try to get the blood pumping? Yes, okay, so we had a little bit of exercise, so great, that's good to hear. So it profited, it's a benefit, and so thank you for doing that. Your body says thank you, okay? Says thank you for doing that. Thank you for getting out and helping to get me moving and about and so forth. Okay, so we're on now. Last week we talked a bit about calories and so forth, And one piece to keep in mind that if I know most of us are probably on the side we're trying to lose weight. Some of us on the side we're trying to gain weight. Some of us on the other side we're trying to lose weight. To lose a pound of fat, we need to burn 3,500 calories. You say, man, that's a whole lot. You know, I know you're probably thinking that already. That's a whole lot. It's like 3,500, and then you may be doing the math saying, well, I'm trying to lose 10 pounds, and that's like 35,000 calories I need to burn. So, but it's essentially 3,500 calories is a deficit. Now, you can't do that in one day. And the nice thing, of course, about just being alive and moving, your body is using calories. When you sleep, you're burning calories. When you're awake, you're burning calories. Obviously, the more momentum and exercise you have, the more calories that you're able to burn. But you need to burn 3,500 calories to be able to lose a pound. And this is why fad diets don't work. So this is the Achilles heels to fad diets, because you need to lose 3,500 to be able to lose weight. So that would, in practical terms, you would really want to target a deficit of like 500 calories a day. So if you can do 500 a day, at the end of the week, that's 3,500, right? And so that would mean that on average, you might lose a half a pound to a pound a week, losing, a deficit of 3,500 calories. And that's more manageable. So on losing 500 calories a day, then that might mean, skipping, having a smaller portion size or something. Just it's easier to navigate through in that way. Now, you might be thinking, oh, I'm just going to skip 2 meals, and that's going to be my 3,500 calories, and I'll do it that way. And that's not going to work. It'll work short term, but it's not going to work long term. And the reason why is the body then begins to prepare to starve. Hey, I don't know when I'm going to get the next meal, so I need to save it. And so if you can reduce by calories, so if we can create a deficit by reduction in calories input, or we can even create a deficit by calories expended, right? By burning additional calories, then we're certainly moving in the right place. But again, the general rule is about 3,500 calories. And so we talked about the calories that we need, the average person needs, just to be able to survive and to be sustained. Anyone remember what it was? I'll try to pull it up quickly for males versus females. 1,800 calories to 2,200. So that's females 31 through 59. All right? So 1,800 calories. So in that particular case, so if I'm saying 1,800 and I'm trying to drop a pound, then I need to lose 500. So now I'm looking at lowering the calorie count. Okay? So, but that's going to be a little low to go there to say, okay, I'm going from 1,800 to 1,300. Does that make sense? 1,300 is like, that's pretty low number that one is targeting. So, or if I said, well, I'm at 31, from a male 31 to 59, I'm at 2,200, then I'm going to 1,700. Again, that's going to be on the lower side. So again, how am I going to be able to get that? So the whole process is that maybe I'm not cutting back 500 in a day. Right? Maybe I'm cutting it down, and so the process is going to be longer to be able to get there. Now again, remember, I also said that as you're exercising, that's going to increase your metabolism. And so as you increase your metabolism, then you're going to need to, consume more to be able to stay satiated. But we're going to look at portion size and so forth. And I know for me, it's going to be like a re-education of sorts to whatever extent I want to follow. And I think for you, you'll probably find it true as well. But if you look out and just say, well, look, if you just looked at the math and said 1,800, I'm going to drop it down to 1,300 a day, that's going to be pretty challenging. And I call it austerity measures, okay? So it's going to be pretty much a very strict regimen that you're going to be on. And you're going to probably be hangry. And that may not be a good experience for you or people around you. Okay? So we want to do it in a way that's going to be approachable, so we may be able to attack and to be able to get into. Now, certainly if you're on the higher side and you look at what you're consuming and you're in that 2200 threshold or what have you, then you may be able to dial it back down some. Does that make sense? If you're on the lower end of 1800, again, if you said, well, 500 off or 400 off, that's going to be coming down 1600, 1300. If you're on the higher side of that in terms of what you're consuming, then there may be a little bit of wiggle room. But the whole idea is kind of being cognizant and conscious of what you're eating, what you're consuming, and then as well as what is being expended. But as a rule, 3,500 is really what we're targeting toward in the process, so the area of 3,500 calories. Okay. BMI is a different measure. And so we talk about body, the size or the weight, but also BMI. And BMI takes into consideration like, your bone mass, muscle mass, and so forth. Now, I looked at this, and frankly speaking, I was a little disheartened as I looked at it. It's saying that BMI underweight is considered like 18.5. Normal weight is a range of 18.5 to 24.9 is like normal. Overweight is considered 25.0 to 29.9, and then obese is 30 and above. Okay, so those are the ranges for BMI. And I looked at the chart, and hey, thank God it's not where it was, but it's not where it needs to be. So as the old Negro spiritual said, well, thank God I ain't what I was, and I ain't what I need to be. No, thank God I'm not what I was. I'm not what I need to be, but thank God I'm not what I ain't. Okay, so we're making some progress. So I looked at this, and you may not be able to see it from the light in there, but you go across as a matrix, and so you would not really worry about this in the center for such, but you would start at first identifying your height. And then as a row, just reading it across. So you identify your height, how tall you are, or how short you are. Mark that, and then we go across. And of course, as in most instances, green is a good area that you'd want to be in. And then in this blue area, it's getting into the overweight. The orange area is hitting obesity, and then the red area is hitting extreme obesity. So I won't ask anyone for weight, but we'll pick a height just to be able to go through it. Okay. So anyone want to have a height? Maybe not your height, but any height. Yes. 5'4". All right, 5'4". So we'll look at 5'4". All right, so 5'4", and the top it says BMI. You can see at the top it says it's just a list of BMI starting at 19 and moving over. Okay, so BMI at 5'4", and a healthy range, it starts at 110. That's 19, and there's a little bit of variation. So please don't make this like the 10 Commandments as such. All right, not make it as the 10 Commandments, but as a general rule of thumb, some leeway there. Okay, so 5'4" would be 110 pounds, and then moving all the way to the green at 140 is considered a healthy BMI. So that's what you're looking at. Still going at 5'4". Once I hit 145 to 169, then that is overweight. Still on 5'4", once I hit 174 up to 227, now I'm in the obese range. And then from 232 pounds all the way up to 291, it's considered extreme obesity. So those are the ranges. Gentlemen are going to be a little bit taller, generally speaking, and maybe 5'4". So I just say so I'm 6'2". I'll use mine. I'm 6'2". So it's saying then I should be somewhere between 148 to 186 would be healthy. All right, and then from there, 194 to 225 would be overweight. And then obese would be 233 to 303. And extreme obesity would be 311 to 389. So as you digest that and think about it for a moment, you might like the numbers, you may not like them too much. I looked at the numbers and it's like, okay, man, there's a way to go. Who came up with these numbers and so forth? But these are the numbers. This is what is suggested and what is looked at as being normal as such. Now, the other thing as well with that, again, is the CDC has stated that in America, 40% of adults and 20% of children are classified as being obese. That's America. Those numbers there. So we fall in the range then of going into this orange area, pushing here. So 6'2", then, when I had checked in before, that was like 250. So, they said 40% of adults were sitting there. I'm in this blue area, but still a way to go. Now, I know some people say, well, hey, if you get into this range, you might look, skinny or whatever the case may be. But you find, how do your clothes fit? How do you feel, right? What's healthy for you? But this is a range. But bear in mind that the range is suggesting that as we go further in and we continue to have, more fat, more obesity, it brings other physiological problems. So that's really what the challenge is. That's what we're trying to prevent. So don't feel that you have to be, exactly, I'm 140 or I'm 139, so that's a problem. I'm 138, or I'm, at 179 or 184. That's not, it's a little bit of a sliding scale. So take it in that consideration as such. Did I see your hand up? Yeah, okay. Oh, okay, sure. Okay, so 5'9". All right, so then the healthy range is from 128 to 162. And then what's considered the overweight range is 169 to 196. And then the obesity level goes from 203 to 263. And then the extreme obesity is from 270 to 338. Somebody may be walking home tonight, not you, but okay. So somebody's going to be in trouble. All right. Any other questions? Yes.
So basically, it's a sliding scale because you can weigh more because your muscles weigh more. Mm-hmm. So you could be like, so some of that weight can come from muscles. So you got to pay attention to how your clothes fit and so forth.
Correct.
Because it might not be all fat in your muscles.
Yes. So muscle is heavier than fat, and that's why one of the reasons why you don't always want to jump on the scale to try to weigh yourself. Because if you're working out, you're lifting weights, calisthenics, whatever, you jump on a scale and it might say that you've gained a pound. In reality, you could have gained a pound of muscle. Okay, so muscle is heavier than fat. So you're looking to see, well, how do my my pants fit? How does my shirt fit? How does my blouse fit? Is my coat tight and so forth? And areas you're really looking at, okay, well, stomach, because most of us tend to put on weight in our stomach. Where you put on weight. Everybody puts on weight differently. Some people you can put on your legs first. Some people first in your behind. Some people first in their face. Some people's first, in their stomach. It just varies. Okay, so you can't look at someone else as the standard. You know kind of where you gain weight, and where you gain weight first is where you're going to end up losing weight. Where you gain it last is where it's going to end up going last. Where you gain it first is going to end up going first. You're going to see that there. And those other areas are going to be a little harder to get to. Okay, but you work through the process. So you have this whole thing that's listed there just to give you a range. To give you a range to be able to understand. And once you kind of digest that to know, well, all right, and you can't go by as well, I don't feel bad. We use that a lot. Well, I don't feel bad. Well, it's not based on kind of how you feel. It's really based upon where should I be? Because you may not feel bad until later on. We're very resilient. Our bodies can take a lot of abuse and so forth. But this is based on, again, thousands upon thousands of people, and these are averages within a range. So again, I want to stress that it's the same when you would go in as a child and they would test your body weight and so forth. it's just within a range of what others normally test at. And so when you do your blood pressure, yours might be 115 is like normal for you versus others may be 125, et cetera. So it's based on a range, and there are some variations there. But this is just a general idea behind BMI and the impact there. Okay. Any other questions there, or are you good? All right. So when we talk about a BMI, we considered what was normal. Normal again was anywhere from 18.5 up to 24.9. With the increased level of obesity, there's increased chance or problems with heart disease, higher triglycerides, blood pressure, and high blood sugar. Type 2 diabetes, of course, we talk about adult onset diabetes, becoming insulin resistant. So now I have to have insulin to help to lower blood sugar. High blood pressure, of course, becomes an issue. And high blood pressure, of course, creates a further strain. The heart has to work harder to be able to push blood through the body. So think of it as the blood is sluggish. Technically it isn't, but it's harder for the blood to be able to push through. So it has to do more work to be able to exert, to be able to get the blood through. And that in turn would then lead to additional diseases or increased risk of heart disease, stroke, and the like. Number 4, strokes are increased from high blood pressure and diabetes and cholesterol. One area that's often not diagnosed or talked a lot about is even in sleeping. Problems, sleep apnea. What you may commonly be familiar with is people snoring. Snoring is not necessarily a problem or an issue, but it could be. What sleep apnea is, snoring is just the collapsing of the, forget the muscle that's here, but you hear a vibration. So when you blow out, basically the airway is just blowing, and so you hear this vibration, and so you hear people snoring. But sleep apnea is different. Sleep apnea is when the person is not breathing. And so you generally don't know that. They may just wake up gasping, like really a strong sound. And so, okay, now you won't know that generally if you sleep by yourself. But if you're married and your spouse hears that, then it's something to be able to check into or to look, are your kids hear it? Or something else, or somebody, have a roommate, they hear it, then that would be something to be able to look at. And so that's when they use like CPAP machines and so forth to be able to make sure that a person is fine, that there's no abnormality. And if there is, what is the condition? What is the problem? So that's an issue. But some of the ways of being able to maybe think about it and to see, are you getting sleepier in the daytime from just the same activities and such? So we're concerned about sleep apnea and other breathing problems. Number 6, liver disease. Fatty liver disease is a condition in which fat builds up in the liver and may lead to liver damage, cirrhosis, liver failure, etc. And with fatty liver disease, of course, then there's a likelihood or a possibility of liver cancer coming from that. Number 7, gallbladder disease. 8, we talk about cancers, various types of cancers, increased risks for breast cancer, normally for women, colon and rectal cancer, gallbladder cancer, kidney cancer, etc. So it's like an increased risk of like 13 different types of cancer just based off of problems related to obesity. Number 9, reproductive problems, gestational diabetes, meaning diabetes when a person is pregnant, hypertension, preeclampsia, when you have very high blood pressure. 10, arthritis. So not exclusively, but a higher likelihood of it due to obesity. And then lastly, depression. Depression then entering in. So 11 different things just associated with the area then of obesity. And really obesity is weight management. And please don't fall into a situation of seeing someone that's large and assuming that, well, they're large because they eat a lot. That's not the case, always. So you can't look at a person and say, well, this person is big, or they just need to stop eating. They just eat too much. There are a variety of reasons why people might be, quote, large. and it may not have to do with food. Okay, so you can't look on the outside. It's looking on the outside trying to make a full determination of what's there. What we're concerned about really is ourselves, and just kind of where do we fit on that, and what do we want to do to try to improve to get into a healthier area than where we are. So to be able to do that, we talk about serving sizes, and this is what we'll look at today. So I took a picture of a breakfast plate that yours truly made. I made this. So this was, I made this. You have some, you can't see it that well, I guess from the lighting, but I have some homemade pancakes there with a little bit of margarine on top. You know, didn't get the maple syrup on. Here is my scrambled tofu, and then I have a couple of pieces of bacon there, veggie bacon. Forget the name of it, but whoever the bacon people are, thank you. And then I have some tater tots right here on the side. Okay, so I have like three pancakes, some tater tots, some tofu, and some bacon. Is this a balanced meal? Obviously, there's no fruit there because I didn't put any fruit. But in terms of like the variety, would you say it's pretty balanced? Again, it's not the total meal for the day. It's, it's one meal. You're going to eat again later on. But for starters, it's a pretty good mix. Where's the vegetable?
The potato. Well.
I thought you were going to say the ketchup. Okay, it's all vegan, it's all plant-based too. I use some almond milk and so forth, my flour. Okay, but it's a pretty good meal. Okay, for the most part, it's a pretty good meal. You could have fruit and so forth. And like again, so it's 3 pancakes, and that's close to size and so forth. But the question we look at though is calories going back to calories. And I don't want you to be so conscious that you don't enjoy your food. Enjoy your food, okay? But to know what you're eating and so forth. Yeah, in that respect. So I took a picture here of planters, and this is because I relate to this because maybe you're driving down and you're on the road and you're hungry. You said, okay, I'm just going to eat some peanuts because I'm going to be home and eat shortly, so I don't want to eat too much. You run inside Arco and you pick it up, and so this is a pack of Planters peanuts. Okay, on the front you can't see it from there, but it's 6 ounces. 6 ounces, and on the front, if you look at it, because you want to make a good choice, right? And you see in the front, it says 170 calories. Okay, it's 170 calories. It's 2 grams of saturated fat, 100 milligrams of sodium, and 1% total sugars. So 1 gram of total sugars. I think who says that men, I think maybe 25 grams. No, ladies, 25 grams of sugar. Men, like 30 grams of sugar for a day. It's in here. I can look it up again. But you look at that, and that's pretty much good. And the best part is, it's plant-based, right? So we plant-based. And by the way, I thought about it the other day. We like to say vegans are strong because look at the animal kingdom. And some of the strongest creatures are vegan, right? So you say, look at the chimpanzee. Look at the elephant. But now the other side of it, if that's all this dude is eating, you can get pretty big eating just plants, right? But that's not the part they tell us, though. They just tell us the part, eat like an ox, you'll be as strong as the ox. But they don't tell us if you eat like the ox, you might be as big as the ox. But this set of peanuts, 6 ounces, and if you had this, I think it's safe to say all of us will probably eat that in just a couple of gulps. 6 ounces is not a lot. That's not a cup. It's less than a cup. It's not a lot. Now, how many calories is this then? So I flip it over, to see? Well, it says nutrition facts, about 6 servings per container, serving size 1 ounce or 35 pieces, and the calories 170. Look through it, looks pretty good. So I gobble up the whole pack. How many calories have I just consumed? How many say 170?
170 times 6.
How many say I finished the whole pack? Yeah, I grabbed the whole pack. Because on the front it says 6 ounces, and it says per 1 ounce serving 170. I flip on the back, and I see it says calories 170, down the hatch. So now, how many say 170 by 6?
1,020.
Okay. So now we're talking about what? Well, 100 times 6 is 600. 7 times 6 is 420. So we're like 1,020 calories for like this little 6 ounce of peanuts. And and the bad part is you're still hungry. So you need some juice to wash it down, or some chips or something. So it's like 1,020, and that was just like, that's not going to do anything. So why do I bring it up? I bring it up just to try to make us consciously aware of things that are there, because you grab it and go with it and not think too much about it. Now the other hidden thing, of course, is sugar. So I mentioned before, looks like I was pretty close to being spot on. It's 24 grams of sugar for most adult women, is what the American Heart Association recommends. I said WHO, but it was American Heart Association. And no more than 9 teaspoons or 36 grams of sugar for most men. Okay? That's the recommendation that is there. So if put it into retrospect, if I'm getting like on most juices, even natural juices, they will probably have maybe like 24 grams of sugar in one serving. But you say, well, then what about the calories? I thought the calories are most important. Yeah, calories are important because you're looking to see, because it may say 110 calories per serving, but then the sugar also is important, okay? Because sugar, I want to have a smaller amount of sugar, getting more of my energy, of course, from my proteins, carbohydrates, etc. But we just consumed the pack of peanuts, and so that created a problem. All right, so how do we look at serving sizes? A slice of bread, so these are what typical serving sizes should be. And I look at this and you say, well, hey man, who eats like this? I think again of, really little fancy restaurants and so forth. Like 1 slice of bread, half a cup of pasta that's cooked, a small piece of fruit, 1 wedge of melon, 3/4 cups of fruit juice, a cup of milk or yogurt, 2 ounces of cheese is about the size of a domino. It says 2 to 3 ounces of meat, poultry, or fish. This is about the size of a deck of cards. Now, of course, you can sub these out, like for plant-based alternatives and so forth, but we're certainly going to be over the head. So I thought I would play a quick game, and you get to pick out the portion size. So fish, it says 3 ounces. Again, no, by and large, you probably don't consume fish, but the food charts give a breakdown of different recommendations of how much to eat in terms of ounces and so forth. And by and large, what is recommended, like the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, is not a bad thing. It's not like the chart is excessive. The challenge that we have is that we like to supersize it. And so like in the 1950s, you get like 2 slices of pizza and it was maybe 350 to 400 calories. Today, those 2 slices of pizza is going to be like 800 calories. Like just think Costco size. Think Costco size, and you go in and, it's like, the really big churro, and it's, like a phenomenal deal, really big cup of drink, right? And, when you see the pizza slices, it's like, they're big, and, people love it because it's value. Like, man, I can make the dollar go pretty far. Look, I got all this, like a value meal. But we want more. So we have to tell ourselves, less. I have to go with less because it's portion size, and this is where it really comes down to. So on fish, here's an example. 3 ounces is like the size of a smartphone, something to fit within your palm of your hand. So don't think fish then, because I know you have to equate it to what we might eat. So if I said veggie fish, okay, that may resonate more with us. And when I eat my veggie fish, I'm just talking about me, I don't eat one piece. 1 piece is for the kids. 3 pieces are for the adults. But if it's 3 ounces, I've just tripled that amount, right? So don't. I want to try to challenge you to re-educate your thinking, just to think, well, if it's vegan, it must be good. If it's plant-based, it must be fine. And so I can just eat as much as I want until I get full, and that's the expectation. Not quite. Cheese, 1 ounce. Now, I don't know anybody that has like 1 ounce of cheese. But that serving size is like the size of 2 dice. You played Monopoly before? What's this 2 dice? Really a die. That's pretty small. That's like maybe 2 cherry tomatoes or something like that. Because we want like, mounds of it. All right? It's got to be piled up high to have it. Nuts. 1/4 of a cup is like the size of one large egg. That's not how we eat our nuts. It's a couple of handfuls. I got those almonds, I just like in a little handful and just, and they could be raw too. So it's like no salt, no, it's just pretty good. Don't have to worry about high blood pressure. Just eat a handful of them. Well, hold it, not so fast, at least for me if I want to change some things. Dry cereal, like 1 closed fist. That's a cup. No, so when they put the serving size and so forth on, the calorie, because we read the calories and say, okay, it's 1 cup. And we're like, okay, I'm going to get 1 cup. But in reality, we don't have 1 cup. We have like, I have a bowl. And there's probably like 4 cups in there, right? And that's like a serving size. Okay, now I'm good. But this is really bringing it back into perspective that no, a serving size is 1 cup. This is how big 1 cup is. So that's about the size of a closed fist. For butter and oils, the recommendation is a teaspoon, which is like the tip of your thumb. Not the whole thumb, but the tip of the thumb. So think, margarine up my pancakes. Definitely not going to use a thumb. So you're probably like, well, man, what can we eat then? Just, you're taking all the joy out of eating, because this is saying I can't have it all. Well, you can have a cup of fruits and vegetables. And that's about the size, you're saying, of a light bulb. A cup is equivalent to that. Again, you get your fruits and vegetables. It's typically not that limited. Meat and poultry, again, 3 ounces. Peanut butter is an example, like 2 tablespoons. Pasta, 1/2 cup, or the size of a tennis ball. A baked potato, the size of a computer mouse. So it's like 1. I just had the big russets from Costco. The big kind, like two of those, 2 or 3 of those, and I was still hungry later on. A little challenge: leafy vegetables, 1 cup. Dried fruit, golf ball size. The idea behind the portion control, the portion size, is, again, it adds up. It's nuts and so forth. Are a good source of protein, but packed, but high in calories. You mentioned fat. Avocado, great, but again, it's a good source of fat, but we don't need a lot. rice and pastas and linguine and spaghetti, great, even whole wheat. But we don't need a lot. We need a little bit more of this, a little bit less of that, because it adds up in terms of calories. So we're looking on the big picture as to how do we want to take care of these bodies as such. So a couple of tips then that I pulled. Let's just start small. At the start of the meal, take a little less than what you think you'll eat. And if you're still hungry, eat more vegetables or fruit. Eat from plates and not packages. When you're eating from a package, you have no idea how much we eat. And then there's a thing that I am very guilty of. That as a child I was taught, don't waste your food. And I'm constantly told by my wife, she says, don't force all this food on the kids. Because I'm like, hey, if it's on your plate, I want you to eat it. Because that food costs money. And, I don't know if in Fiji, but when we were growing up, it was, some kid in Africa would love to have that food. I don't know, did y'all say that? Okay to say? All right, well, black people definitely Fijian. Okay, it would tell you, don't waste your food. A kid in Africa would love to have that. So we had to eat, you ate everything. But maybe then not put everything on your plate then. I'll start and go back. And nobody's talking about starvation, so please don't go to a different extreme. No one's saying starve yourself. Don't eat. I'll share. I was doing an exercise program, and I said I'm gonna cut back on what I'm eating. This was some years ago, and I came home from work, and my stomach was hurting just like bad. I don't know what the problem was, and so I came inside. And I said, I got to go to the doctor. I don't feel good. I don't know what's going on. And I have a low threshold for pain, number one. At the slightest start of pain, give me, an Advil, give me a Motrin, give me something. Some of you guys are better than I. You tough it out and you grin and bear it. And you can be like 4 days in intense pain. Don't think anything about it. But me, 5 minutes, I'm calling mercy. So I'm like, hey, I got to do something. I don't feel good. I don't know what's going on. I didn't think it was like cancer or anything like that. It just was, pain. So I went to the ER, and they got me in, took my vitals, everything was good. And after maybe 30 minutes, they did an X-ray, came back, and the nurse said, here, drink this. It was something like Pepto-Bismol. And she says, it's flatulence. Or putting another way, in layman's term, you get gas. So I'm like, a hospital, an emergency room visit for gas. And then to add insult to injury, they had done these X-rays, and she said, and you're constipated. And I'm thinking, and I don't want to just, I know it could be TMI, but I'm trying to share this as a learning opportunity. So I'm putting myself out there as a learning opportunity. I'm like, well, I use the bathroom regularly. What are you talking about? I said, no, and she looked at the chart. It's like, you backed up. So just because you use the restroom, because, it was like, a sense of accomplishment. Because I heard in these, health meetings, you should be regular. You should go twice a day or 3 times a day when you eat and so forth. I'm like, I'm in the bathroom like clockwork. And she's looking at the X-ray don't lie. So she's showing me what's in the X-ray. And I'm like, okay, well, hey, what you saw is what it must be then. So it was a process. That I had to make an understanding. And then what I found out was that, well, I was waiting too long to eat in between meals. So it's like maybe like in the morning, like at 8 in the evening, maybe 4, something like that. And again, you might do 2 meals, you may do 3 meals or what have you, but you need to let your body lead you. Okay. And I know some people may not say let your body lead you, but I'm saying in the sense of your body's going to try to tell you what's going on. what you can handle, what you can't handle, and so forth. So don't make any type of really abrupt changes and that you're unable to be able to handle and to sustain. Sustainability is what we're looking at. So we have eat from plates, not packages. And of course, now you're able to just to see how much you're eating. If I have a bag of popcorn, I'm just eating it, and I don't know how much I've consumed of that. Half a bag is gone, and I didn't even know it. But if it's in a plate, something that is measurable, I'm better able to keep track of it. And certainly, again, I do want to encourage you to eat 2 or 3 meals a day. Not constant grazing. When I say constant grazing, it's one thing if you're hungry and I had to eat something. That's one thing. But one thing if I'm constantly, continually eating all day, eat enough so that you're satisfied. The breakfast is, of course, the most important meal of the day. So eat a solid, hearty breakfast to be able to certainly to carry you forward. Now, whether you do 2 meals a day, whether you do 3 meals a day, whatever works best for you, find the plan though and stick to it as best as possible. 3, check food labels. So we talked about that, to be able to examine it. And sometimes you'll be surprised because you'll read it, and like the peanut example, you might think that, okay, it was only 200 calories. But then you look at the fine print, and it says, well, it's one package is like 3 servings. And now you realize, man, I ate 600 calories. Or I wouldn't have eaten that much had I known. So take the time to be able to look at that as well. And then from there, making your plan, sticking to it, and going at it one step, one day at a time. Our health time is over. I'm going to go into at least maybe any questions that you might have or any relevant comments. And then I do want to talk quickly about the 2 areas of finance that I did not discuss before.